Okay, Bible and Daily Lifers, here we are. We are going through the New Testament in a year, and we are up to Matthew chapter 21, which means that we are in the last week of the life and ministry of Jesus. It begins right here in chapter 21, and this is known as the Palm Sunday Road. So Jesus is coming into the city of Jerusalem. He's going to be crucified. This will be the last time he's in the city of Jerusalem in his earthly ministry. So let's jump in and see what's going on. Matthew chapter 21. Now this chapter is long, so we are probably not going to do every word in this chapter, but we're going to do the best we can. So here we go. Now, when they, Jesus and his disciples, drew near to Jerusalem, they came to Bethphage, to the Mount of Olives. Then Jesus sent two of his disciples, and he said, "Go into the village in front of you, and immediately you will find a donkey tied there, and a colt with her. Untie them and bring them to me. If anyone says anything to you, you shall say, 'The Lord needs them,' and they will send him at once." This took place to fulfill what was spoken of through the prophet, saying, "Say to the daughter of Zion, behold, your king is coming, humble, mounted on a donkey, on a colt, on the foal of a beast of burden." Now, this prophecy is taken from Zechariah 9:9. And Matthew is very concerned to make sure that the Hebrew people, the Jewish people, understand that Jesus is the fulfillment of everything that was spoken of in the Old Testament, some 300 prophecies about Jesus' first coming. In this particular prophecy in Zechariah, who has a lot to say about the Messiah, a lot of prophetic things about the Messiah, Zechariah says that the king will come on a donkey, humble, mounted on it. So what's going to happen here is Jesus is going to get the donkey, sending his disciples to do it, and then he's going to come down this road called the Palm Sunday Road. Well, it wasn't called the Palm Sunday Road then, but we call it the Palm Sunday Road now. So it says that they were on the Mount of Olives when he sent them. What's happening here is the city is full of pilgrims, hundreds of thousands of pilgrims coming into the city of Jerusalem. It's Passover. And these guys can't stay in the city. There's no room for them, just like there was no room for Jesus in Bethlehem when he was born. So they're staying outside of the city. And we're going to get a lot of interaction with them coming and going in and out of the city of Jerusalem. And many times we'll find them on the Mount of Olives. The Mount of Olives is a hill directly across from Jerusalem. In fact, if you're on the Mount of Olives and you look at the city of Jerusalem, it looks like you're on a level plain. But in between the Mount of Olives and Jerusalem, there's a valley, the Kidron Valley. And it's very steep going down. And so you go down into the Kidron Valley and then you go up to Jerusalem. That's why it always says when they're going to Jerusalem, let's go up to Jerusalem, because it's up on top of a hill. You have to get there on the Mount of Olives side through the Kidron Valley. So that's what's going on. That's where they are. They're going to get the donkey for Jesus, and the king is going to come. This is pretty important for the Jewish people, that Jesus is the king. In fact, Matthew's gospel is all about Jesus being the king who has a kingdom. Now, they thought he would be an earthly king like King David and would sit on the throne of Israel and would rule from Jerusalem and bring back their former glory. Well, he was going to be a king, but not that kind of a king. So, verse 6, the disciples went and did as Jesus had directed them. That's always a good thing. We could camp out there and unpack that for a while, right? That disciples should just do as Jesus directed us. Whatever he's told us to do, that's what we should do. They brought the donkey and the colt, and they put their cloaks on him, and he sat on them. Now, your cloak in the day would be rather valuable. In the day, you probably only had one cloak, and you used it for everything. You used it to sleep in. You used it when it was cold. And so it's quite valuable. And so they're giving up some real valuables and for Jesus to just sit on and for the donkey to actually walk on. So quite the act of worship to give up something so valuable. Most of the crowd spread their cloaks on the road. So these valuable pieces of clothing where you might only have one and it's really an important possession of yours, they take them and they put them on the road so that the donkey can step on it. Act of worship, giving everything that we have for God, monetarily here, monetary value, putting it down on the ground so Jesus can walk on it. So same with us, giving of our monetary things, giving of our valuables to for worship, for the sake of worship. And others cut branches from the trees and they spread them on the road. Now this is called the Palm Sunday Road, and the reason it's called the Palm Sunday Road is because they were cutting off branches. What kinds of branches? Well, they weren't big oak trees, they were palm trees. And so that's why we call it Palm Sunday. They were taking the palm branches, cutting them off, and making this sort of red carpet effect where Jesus and the donkey could walk and go down this hill. Well, the crowds that went before him and followed him, so there's crowds in front and there's crowds in the back. They were singing, Hosanna to the Son of David. Blessed is he who comes in the name of the Lord. Hosanna in the highest. That word means save now. And so the crowds in front of him and the crowds behind him were saying, save now, save now. Save from what? Save from Roman oppression. Save from these people who are ruling over us. Save us now. Well, when he entered Jerusalem, the whole city was stirred because all of these people are on the front of him in the back and shouting Hosanna. And they're saying, who is this? Who is this? And the crowd said, this is the prophet Jesus from Nazareth of Galilee. He is here. Well, Jesus entered the temple, and he drove out all those who sold and bought in the temple, and he overturned the money changers and the seats of those who sold pigeons. And he said to them, it's written, my house shall be called a house of prayer, but you have made it a den of robbers. Now, Mark adds onto that Jesus said it would be called a house of prayer for all nations. And so, no difference. It's exactly what he said. Mark just includes more of what he said, and Matthew just includes less of what he said. So he cleanses the temple. There were money changers there. Why were there money changers? Well, if you've ever been to a foreign country, you don't need to do it so much now with electronic funds transfers. But it used to be that you would take your cash and you would exchange it for whatever the currency of that particular country is. And you always want to get a good exchange rate. Well, what happened here was the worshipers were coming into the city of Jerusalem, and they were supposed to bring sacrifices that would be sacrificed at the temple. But many of them are coming from quite a distance. So rather than travel with your family, because you're walking these dusty roads, these dusty, rocky roads, rather than bring animals with you for sacrifice, you would bring cash and you would buy a sacrifice when you got there. Well, what happens when you get there, because people are coming from all over and they're not all using the same currency, that there were these religious money changers there, and they're changing the people's money, but they're gouging the people. They're not giving them a fair exchange rate. They're making money off of their money. And so they're doing this in a religious context, and Jesus doesn't like it. Jesus doesn't like people being taken advantage of monetarily in a religious context. Now, Jesus likes it when you give, and he likes it when you give your money, and he likes it when you give offerings, and he likes it when you tithe. He likes that. But he doesn't like it when you're taken advantage by religious authorities for advantage, for their advantage. And so that's what the money changers are all about, and Jesus didn't like it. And so Jesus overthrows the tables of the money changers. And it says, after he did that, the blind and the lame came to him in the temple, and he healed them. But the chief priests and the chief priests and the scribes saw the wonderful things that he did, and the children crying in the temple, Hosanna to the Son of David. They were indignant. And they said, do you hear what they're saying? And he said, have you never read? Out of the mouths of infants and nursing babies, you've prepared praise. In leaving them, he leaves the religious authorities. He went out to the city of Bethany and lodged there. So these were the events of the day of Sunday, of Palm Sunday. The amazing thing is that when these money changers had set themselves up in the court, they had set it up in the court of the Gentiles. You see, the Gentiles could come into that particular area, and there they could worship. But what these guys have done is they filled it with merchandise, they filled it with money changing, they filled it with taking advantage of the people. Jesus drives out the money changers, he drives out all of these people that are merchandising, taking advantage of people, Now, be careful about the merchandising thing. I don't think that Jesus is opposed to some company making hats that say Jesus on it and you buying that hat. That's probably fine. But it's the taking advantage of them. You see, the people had to exchange their money and they were getting a terrible rate. So once Jesus cleansed the temple of all of this religious hypocrisy, get this, this is important. Once he cleared the temple of all of the religious hypocrisy, once he cleared the temple of all of the merchandising, once he cleared the temple of all of the common people being taken advantage of by the religious leaders, the blind and the lame were healed. And so there's something about the cleansing of the temple. There's something about simplicity. There's something about that which is right. There's something about not making Jesus junk, right? And taking advantage of people and selling them all of this kind of stuff. So we're going to drop it off right there. You can read the rest of the chapter. Awful lot going on in this chapter. But we just finished the first day. We finished Sunday when Jesus comes into the city of Jerusalem. He comes on the donkey. They're singing. They're thinking he's going to be an earthly king, but he's the King of Kings and the Lord of Lords, spiritual king over all people. He cleanses the temple. After he cleanses the temple, revival comes, and the blind and the lame are healed. So Bible and Daily Life, find us wherever you find us. We're all over the place. We're on Spotify. We're on Facebook. We're on YouTube. We're lots of places. Hey, Calvary Chapel 316, you can always find us there, BibleandDailyLife.com. Hey, love you guys.